the incognito astronomer again. It's been a couple of months since I've posted anything. Part of that's just due to, well, life issues, stuff like that. And I really wasn't bringing any kind of new things that I was looking at. Apologize for the dog next door. It's the beginning of November here in Ohio in the United States. It's a beautiful, unseasonably warm fall day, and I'm hoping the clouds stay away for the evening. I'm set up out here. I want to do some observing tonight. I'm going to talk you through it like I did in the last video through my laptop while I'm capturing some things. As I noted in the last video, when I do the capture on the laptop, some of the drop-down menus aren't visible, and I do apologize for that. But if you have SharpCap, I kind of try and talk it through while I'm looking at it. So hopefully you can find the right menus and things to press to do what you need to do. What I am going to do a little different tonight is I'm using my SvBony 305 camera, which is my first camera that I ever got. I attached it here to my 50mm guidescope, and I'm going to use that to take some pictures as well. So I'll show you guys the difference between the C5 at approximately f7 and the SvBony 50mm finder with the 305 camera, which is about a quarter of the size sensor that's in the Uranus C here, because it actually gets a lot more sky area to cover. And I've tried it out a couple of other times, and I'm going to do a couple other things with it tonight, so hopefully the clouds will cooperate and we can enjoy. But I'm going to take some flats now and get this stuff set up for the evening. So hold on tight, and we'll be right back.
Well, hello there again. It's a little bit later than I planned on. I had a bit of a snafu with the computer, so it's now almost it's like 10 minutes to 9 p.m. A little dark out. Clouds are still at bay for the moment. Seeing is not great, but it's not terrible either. What you're looking at right now is the Andromeda galaxy. It's a live view image through the SV305 on the 50mm finder. I aligned the finder with the main scope. It's really close, or at least as close as I can get it. You can see right here, here's the main nucleus of Andromeda, and I believe this is M32, I think. Don't quote me on that though, I'd have to actually look it up. But what we're going to do, I'm going to up the exposures to about 5 seconds, and I'm going to turn the gain down a little bit. Just right now the gain's pretty high. We're going to see where we're at. Yeah, that's really blown out, so we're going to turn the gain down. Kind of look at the histogram down here. We want the histogram to be shifted to the left. We want it not quite that far, but we're going to up the gain just a little bit, say 300, and see where this ends up. I like to have the histograms roughly, yep, about right there. Looks good to me. I believe the SvBony, it might not be perfectly focused, but it's pretty close. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to let this sit and stack. I'm going to start a live stack. I'm going to turn off the crosshairs though. And starting a live stack, I'm going to hit the color balance to reset that. I'm going to reset the histogram, move the sliders around. I'm going to shift that over. I'm going to do auto color balance to bring all that stuff together, which makes that nice there. And you can already kind of tell this thing's starting to pull a lot of data. It's only 30 seconds in. I'm going to come back to this a little later, so I'm going to let it go for now for a few minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll see how it looks. Okay, we're back now. All right, so we're back. It's 4 minutes and 20 seconds worth of stack, and I believe I was correct. So what we have here is up in this top corner. We have, I believe that's M110 up here, right underneath where it says quick capture. And then over here to the right of the galaxy, I believe that's M32, and then obviously this large thing is M31. Now again, you can almost look at this as a tutorial of what you can do with not a whole lot of equipment and what you can see relatively quickly. This is a 50 millimeter finder scope. This isn't ED glass. It's cheap. I saw the thing on eBay yesterday. It's currently, I believe, $70, I think, for the finder. Maybe you can probably even get it cheaper than that. It has a helical focuser. The SV305, I believe, is now like $135. So this is a $135 camera in a $70 scope, finder scope, basically. And what kind of field of view you can get. It's not bad. I'm going to flip over to the Uranus C and show you a 5-minute exposure with that. That's only going to get the core of the galaxy, so you'll be able to see that, how much less of a view, field of view on this is actually pretty monstrous for what it is. But just to give kind of a real time, like this is what stuff looks at. We're up over 6 minutes now. I'm going to put in, I forgot to do this earlier, but I'm going to do an M31 and then SV305 and then save it. And I always save mine as seen using histogram stretch and everything exactly the way it appears onto my screen right now. And this thing's been going 6 minutes. You can start to see it's getting a little bit of things cut off the sides. This because this is a alt as mount, and this is field rotation as it occurs. It's because since the mount can only go up, down, and left and right, it can't follow the curve of the sky exactly with the objects that you're tracking. So over time, the entire image rectangle is going to turn around the center of the of where it's pointed. So that's why you lose the edges a little bit at a time. So I'm going to save exactly as seen and let you guys go here again, and I'll show you the Uranus C version of this in just a moment. Okay, this is the view through the Uranus C camera on a C5 that's running about f7 because of a reducer. It's been running for 5 minutes and 40 seconds, so roughly the same equivalent time to the finder scope with the SV305. Now you'll plainly see up in these top corners here the field rotation. That's far more apparent in this one simply because it's a smaller field of view. It's going to have to turn faster to maintain the image. I've stretched the histogram a little bit and auto color balanced. If you notice, the colors are a little different on this versus the SV305. It's more of a golden cast on here. I'm not sure which one's accurate, and again, without doing post processing, which I don't really do, I really have no idea what it's actually supposed to be. What I am going to do though right now is I'm going to fiddle with this just a little bit, see if I can bring out some of the band. There we go. So you can see, I mean, this does have some detail to it that you're picking up, but it's just a very small piece of the galaxy. Neither one of the satellites is visible, just the core. I'm going to take a couple of frames here and capture them just so I have some pictures, and then I'm going to move on to another target and see what that looks like. Okay, so this capture I'm going to try now is the Triangulum galaxy, which is M33. It's a notoriously low surface brightness, at least when I've been trying to capture in the past. Right now we're at about 80 seconds of exposure so far with the SV305, and I haven't even started the Uranus C yet. But I'm going to let this thing sit for a little while, and we'll see where we end up. Well, hi. So this is about 4 minutes of the Triangulum with the Uranus C camera on my C5. Now, what you're going to notice about this one, it is remarkably faint compared to M31, obviously. 4 minutes 20 seconds. I did lose a few frames, but like I said, today is kind of a day where I'm just testing a few things, trying to see what happens when I do things like bin 1 instead of bin 2, what kind of effect that has. My exposures in this particular capture are 6.7 seconds long. The gain is set to 550. Now, the gain is different for every kind of camera. You have to just experiment on your own and see what works for you. Like I said, I like to pull it so the histogram shows the spike well to the right, towards the middle. As much towards the middle as I can kind of get it. I don't like it too much to the left, although a lot of times it ends up being over that way just because of the way that this stuff is run sometimes, how it's worked. You can already see at 5 minutes, you can kind of tell the shifting that the frame has done due to the Alt-Az mount. Now I'm going to flip over to the SvBony. It's been stacking for a couple minutes longer than this has. This is now 5 minutes and 33 seconds. We're going to flip over to that and see what that looks like with a much smaller telescope, not as much light gathering ability as a 5-inch mirror, obviously. So we're going to see what the difference is with that. Okay, so here we are, the SV305 on the 50mm finder. Now, to be honest with you, I'm actually pretty impressed with what I'm getting here out of this thing. It's 50mm of aperture, about 2 inches, compared to a 5-inch telescope with a arguably much better camera. But you can still tell there's something there. I'm going to mess with the histogram a little bit to try and bring out some detail. And as you can see, as I'm pushing that histogram up, and you can tell the general shape of the object. It's not perfect by any stretch, but I'm pretty impressed with that. The big thing I wanted to try and use this for was to try to see if I could pull some of the larger nebula, and I think I might be able to do that. At least it's got the field of view to do it. I've seen some amazing things done with very small aperture scopes that it has really been impressive. I'm going to save this just to have it. I tend to save multiple copies of all of my observations each time, just as a record of how I'm doing. And I've vastly improved over the last 12 months that I've been doing this, because I started roughly a year ago tinkering into EAA astronomy, which is electronically assisted astronomy. Anyway, so there's that. I'm going to end this one here. I think I'm going to go to a third target, and that'll be the last one of the evening. All right, well, here we are to the last target I think I'm going to work on tonight. With all of the different things that have happened, computer shut off when it wasn't supposed to, different things like that, I think I'm going to call it a night after this. It's getting a little chilly out here. It is November in northern Ohio. So this last target, this is the Bubble Nebula. The current picture we have right now is about 1.5 minutes, Uranus C camera on the C5. I'm gonna move the sliders over, try and get some more detail popping out on this thing. And what I like to do, I like to keep the black level just to the left of the peak of the histogram. And then I change the mid-level. If you move it to the right, the background gets darker. If you move it to the left, closer to the black level, it really stretches the image, pulls out a lot of detail. And you can really start to see that. So if I pull this detail in, you can definitely see this arc here was why they call it the bubble nebula, because it looks like a little bubble that's blown up in space. Like you would when you were making bubbles with soapy water as a kid. I'm going to let this thing stack again. It's only been going 2 minutes and 28 seconds. Now, I did start a stack with the SV305 that I'm going to take a look at here as well, and I'll show you guys in just a moment. All right, so this is the SV305. Now, one thing that I immediately notice is that the stars look different. Now, it's been going on here. This exposure is about 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I've got the histogram stretched quite a bit. If you notice how close the mid-level and black level are. And it is really tough. I really can't see anything. The bubble nebula is right here. So in the Uranus C photos, the bubble actually is right around this star, and this other star is plainly visible as well. It's basically the view in that is about, if you drew a square about like this, that's what we're looking at with that. I'm going to go in for a zoom and take a look and see if I can get anything. So if you look in here, now again, not seeing a whole lot. This right here is where the bubble nebula should be. I'm not really seeing anything. Again, 5 minutes, almost 6 minutes worth of exposure. And I really think at this point, it's kind of the limits of what the camera is capable of, and that aperture. A wide field is great if you're looking at big targets and you have a lot of time to try and pull those photons. A smaller target like this, it just doesn't work as well. And that's okay. I mean, you have to know what you're looking at when you are trying to set up some things and look at targets in the sky in the evening. I mean, again, I don't consider this a negative. I mean, personally, I think the stars look pretty good. I mean, all things considered, it's really not a disappointment. So I'm going to take a couple pictures of it as seen here. And then I think I'm going to leave this be and just concentrate on what I can pull from the Uranus C and the C5 combination. All right, so here we are. Uranus C. This is a 7-minute picture of the bubble nebula. And again, you know, you saw it at the beginning, and here it's not a whole lot different. I think it's going to bring out more detail. And to be honest, I've got some. I'll have to compare this picture with the other ones I've taken of this object already, just to see if the binning changed anything as far as what I could see or how much detail I was looking at in the picture. The field rotation is getting pretty huge. If you notice this big giant chunk down here, I mean, you can definitely see it's making its presence known. That's one of the reasons why I tend to not look at things with EAA with this mount for more than about 5 minutes or so, because it simply, you know, it just, the view doesn't look right. It's got this angle on it, and it all depends on where it is in the sky. But towards the zenith, you're really going to get this being very pronounced. It's going to happen pretty quickly. So I like to avoid that. So I think that's where we're going to wrap up for today. Oh, the FHWM is too high. Yep, something's going on, maybe a cloud passing through. So it's not able to stack the frames, which is fine. I think I'm just going to up it up a little bit and see what we got. Oh, it went back down. So something momentarily went back through and caused an issue. But anyway, we're going to leave it there. And I think I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.